This is pretty much off the top of my head, but I think there's always been, in the history of the American church, and I'm thinking especially of the Catholic Church here, a kind of a tension between that church and Rome. Now, I don't want to exaggerate that. I don't mean that they're not loyal Catholics and they're not loyal to Rome. They certainly are both those things. And America's a very religious country. But Rome seems to have a lot of trouble understanding America. And I think it's partly just a difference in culture. But I think another thing is the kind of democracy and egalitarianism of Americans. I think they find that hard to understand in Rome, and always have found that hard to understand in Rome. And I think one thing that has characterized the American church is the strong involvement of the laity. And I think Rome finds that also hard to understand, this emerging role for the laity, because I don't think it's part of the European culture so much. Now, there's been a lot of good thought about that, of course, from Europeans, but I don't think it's part of their life in the way that it's taken for granted here. And so, if what I'm saying is correct, I think that one of the most important things for Americans and the Catholic Church would be to see a greater recognition of, in the first instance, the collegiality of the bishops, so that they're not just seen as branch officers for the head office in Rome, but that they're exercising Christian leadership in a very different milieu from that which applies in Rome or other places in the world. And yet they are doing this within the communion of the Catholic faith and still under the authority of Rome. But I think collegiality requires, of course this was first taught by the Second Vatican Council, and I think it's been slow to be implemented. It's one of those things since the Council that has been implemented to some degree, but nothing like the degree to which it must be implemented. And I think within that context of a growing sense of collegiality, you'll have a growing sense of the role of the laity, which may be greater, probably will be greater in the American context than it is in many other places in the world. So that's, as I say, off the top of my head, that's my response to that question.